Listen up, you guys. Yeah, you, the smart kid in the back of the class, the one who can beat any boss in any raid, the guy who knows every line of lore, but can't seem to get the girl in the coffee shop to even make eye contact with you. You feel invisible. You feel frustrated because you're a good dude, but you don't even have any game. Not the right kind of game. I hear you. You think you're locked out of the dating scene. Wrong. You just haven't been taught to use your superpower. Stay locked in, my brother, because here it comes. All right, look, let's get this straight. The biggest lie that you've been told is that you need game. You don't need game. You need confidence. You need integrity. Confidence isn't walking around like a jerk. It's the quiet, internal security that comes from knowing you're competent, right? You're a pro in your hobby. You build that confidence by hitting the gym, cleaning your room, finishing that coding project, right? That quiet competence. That's the real swagger, my guys. Now, the ethics part, I call this, the entitlement firewall. You are never, ever entitled to a woman's time or affection just because you were nice to her. Period. So all you guys out there thinking, my goodness, she didn't like me and I was so nice to her. I said hi and everything. Bruh, come on. You are never, ever entitled to a woman's time or affection. Ever. Right? Being nice is the default setting for a decent human being, not currency, right? Your goal is always mutual, right? Enthusiastic connection. If she says no or even hesitates, then you pull back immediately and gracefully. That move, that's not a loss. That's a power move, my guys. It shows you respect yourself enough not to beg, and you show you respect her enough to honor her boundaries. Now, this isn't easy, guys, right? But we're not freaking cavemen, right? We're not wild animals out here anymore. It is all about respecting those boundaries because that's sexy, baby. All right, now I want to take a quick detour before we talk about, insecurities and these types of things, because I got an email this week that perfectly illustrates everything we tell you not to do. All right. Now, this actually comes from a viewer. We'll just call this guy. We'll call him Chad. Although I promise you, and sorry, Chad, but this guy is no Chad, or he wasn't a Chad, right? He's working to become one. This guy, he's a sophomore in high school, right? He's super smart. He's in a robotics club. He's big into gaming. Solid dude, right? Or he seems like a solid dude, right? And he writes to me and he tells me that his crush is the senior girl who's, she's into, I think, the typical sort of like, high school sort of like upper echelon stuff, the cheerleading, the choir, these types of things, right? They're in completely different spheres. And basically what this guy wants to know is why he's firmly in the friend zone, right? Just a friend, the dreaded just a friend zone. All right. So I want you to listen to this, right? I mean, this is the timeline he sent me, right? He went straight from zero to desperate. He's messaging her about cheer routines, trying to pretend he cares, right? And then he over texts, right? And he actually sent me a couple of texts that he sent. And with his permission, I'm going to go ahead and show these today. And the first one was, hey, it was, how's your day, right? I was thinking of you. 5 minutes later, I'm sending you good vibes for your cheer tryouts today. Let me know how it went. Now, mind you, these guys are not in a relationship, right? This is a girl that he likes, and he's looking to sort of meet her on that level, but I'm not really sure that this is the way to get it done, my friend. Now, it's nice, right? He sent another one. I spent all night making us pros and cons of us dating, and it's pretty compelling. I can send it to you. Guys, I think the text that kind of like, capped it off in this attempt at connection, and again, I say it's pathetic because It's way too needy. But you haven't responded in 4 hours. Did I say something wrong? Sorry if I did. Right now, this was after a text, 4 hours earlier. And hey, look, I'm impressed that the guy could wait 4 hours between texts, right? I mean, this Chad guy seems like he's all over this stuff, right? but basically, the text beforehand was, hey, can we hang out? Right? Like, let's go. I think they said, let's go to Six Flags or something, right? All right. Look, if they haven't responded, eh, you don't do a sorry text. Now stop, right? Just stop. Look at those texts, right? They're suffocating. They're not about confidence. They were about panic. He tried to buy her attention with gift cards, right? He tried to logic his way into her heart with a spreadsheet, right? He didn't use a contextual opener based on his strengths, right? And when she didn't respond, he kind of lost his cool. He tried to fake his interest in the cheerleading, right, in the choir. And let's be honest, this just makes you look fake and clingy. And the result is she messages him back eventually, right? And is basically like, thanks for the card. You're such a sweet guy, right? And I love having you as my friend. Boom. Right? Friend zone is confirmed, my dudes. Chad didn't even plant a spark, right? He drenched the fire in his desperation to win her over via multiple texts. Now, dudes, Chad led with weakness. Don't be Chad. Sorry, Chad, but thanks for letting me use you. Now, guys, we need to drop the insecurities, right? And this brings me to Chad's core problem and probably yours as well. Chad described this girl as, she's way hotter than me. You need to shut that crap down right away. When you do that, you put her on a pedestal, right? When you do that, you put her up here and you put you down here. That shrinks you, man. Right? You don't want to shrink yourself down. You're not seeing a person, right? You're seeing a fantasy statue at this point, right? The research is clear. Long-term attraction is based on shared values, personality, and chemistry, not just the filter she uses on Instagram. Listen, you need to stop evaluating her looks and start evaluating her vibe. What's her humor like? What's she passionate about? When you talk to her, force yourself to focus on the content of the conversation rather than those pearly whites or those beautiful blue eyes, baby. Stop looking at her neckline and focus on what she's saying. Is she a mush mouth? I mean, like, does she actually have game? Does she have conversation? What's she passionate about? Force yourself to focus on the content of the conversation. Shift from this mindset of, I hope she likes me, to, I wonder if I like her. This changes the entire script, right? It flips it on its head. It puts you in a position of power and instantly makes you more engaging because you're genuinely curious. You're not desperate. Now, when you open your mouth, make sure you're adding value, right? A witty observation, a challenging thought, a smart question. This is intelligence. That's your secret weapon, my guy. I mean, Chad, you were a part of the robotics club, dude. Use that. This doesn't mean spreadsheets. This means calculated, logical, attraction-based signals that you can learn from Plant the Spark. Come on, baby. All right, now, I like to call this what she's actually thinking, right? The research you've never been told. Right before we go any deeper here, I want to clear something up because half of you are walking around with completely the wrong assumptions about what girls are thinking when you make these certain moves that you think are top notch. Come on, they're not top notch. You're still single, my dudes. All right, let's talk real psychology here, right? Not Reddit folklore, because these Reddit guys are a bunch of freaking dorks. let's break down a few of the most common behaviors guys do, right? And what the research says women typically interpret them as, all right? So this will be like a sort of a high-paced, I'm gonna give you like what you do, what she sees, and then what the research shows. All right. All right, here are some of the most common behaviors. So, number one, when you over text. Now, this is what she sees. Psychological research shows women interpret rapid fire texting from a guy not as interest, but as anxiety. The research and studies on digital communication by Hall and Boehm in 2020 show that women reported that frequent check-in style messages from men signal neediness and the lack of emotional independence. So when you think you're showing effort, her brain is tagging it as, does this guy actually have some kind of life outside of me? And I think the answer to that question is probably no. All right, number two, right? Number two, when you self deprecate to seem humble, women read excessive self deprecation as low self esteem. And this is by Aronson and Warshall in 2018. It doesn't look like humility, it doesn't look like sensitivity. It looks like insecurity. And again, this is only done when it's done too much. Now, I know a lot of these people on the internet, these gurus, right? They sit there and they tell them, show a lot of self deprecating humor. Listen, some self deprecating humor is beautiful, right? Too much, insecure. Humility is attractive, right? Self sabotage is not. So, number three, when you apologize for everything, what she sees. Why does this guy feel guilty all the time? Why is this guy so weak or unconfident what he's trying to say? Now, a 2014 research study on attachment and dating found that over apologizing is often read as pre rejection behavior. Guys, if you think you're unworthy, you'll probably over apologize, right? You'll apologize for everything. And then that makes you unworthy, right? No one wants to be with a simp. Translation: she thinks you're waiting for her to leave. This is not sexy. This is not sexy, baby. Number four, when you brag about your intelligence or niche knowledge, right? Now, again, look, if you're trying to date some chick from Dragon Con and you want to impress her with your knowledge of Lord of the Rings or, Gaiku or, whatever, what she sees, it really depends on the delivery. Research from evolutionary psychology, right? This shows that competence is actually extremely, extremely attractive, baby. But boasting triggers the opposite effect. If it feels like you're trying to prove something, right, the brain tags it as compensation, not confidence. So look, flex your competence, man. Flex your competence. Show that you're good at something, right? You don't need to talk about it all the time. You don't need to flex your ego. Just do. Just do it, right? There you go. All right, number five, when you hesitate to lead in conversation. Now, this is research backed stuff here. This is some high level stuff. But what she sees is that if you're not showing intentional leadership, right, suggesting plans, choosing times, guiding the moment, right, this signals that you are not a confident or emotionally stable person. So what you want to do is you want to make that plan. All right, we're gonna have dinner on Wednesday. Let's try to be there at 7 o'clock. Wear something nice. Sexy, baby. It's sexy. If you have to force her to do all the conversational heavy lifting, she becomes the masculine in the relationship, right? She's not thinking, oh, he's so polite. She's thinking, do I have to mother this dude? Stop giving away your power, guys. There is a certain dynamic between men and women. Relationships in general, when one person sort of takes the lead, both people are equal, right? But one person kind of guides the relationship forward. And a lot of the time, this in our society, this happens to be men. Now, again, this is not in all societies or in all relationships, but that is pretty typical. Number six, When you send gifts, flowers, gestures, things like this way too early. What this shows is that, she's thinking to herself, he's trying to secure my approval, right? With gifts rather than show me who he is. Studies on overinvestment show that when men invest too early, women subconsciously interpret it as an attempt to accelerate the emotional closeness artificially, right? And this signals insecurity or a hidden agenda, right? I mean, look, romance is great. I'm a romantic dude. I like to get women gifts. It's part of my love language structure, right? But too much too soon is not romantic. It's just pressure. And no one wants to feel pressured. Number 7, when you wait to make a move because you want the perfect moment. Now, what she sees, research shows women interpret excessive hesitation as a lack of genuine interest. She just thinks you're not into her, my man. And this is by Montoya and Horton in 2014, right? You think you're being respectful. You think you're being, kind, gentlemanly dude. And what she thinks is you're just not into her. So, the final takeaway here, the real secret from all this research, women aren't guessing what you feel, they are inferring it through your patterns. And 80% of the time, the patterns men send accidentally are signaling insecurity, not interest. But look, once you understand the psychology behind these interpretations, you can stop that self sabotaging, right? You can start showing them that you are a confident, grounded, ethical, plant the spark man, baby. And that's when you get to authentic communication and the ask, right? Let's move to the digital battlefield, right? Texting. This is where you can crash and burn. Rule number 1, texting is logistical, not relational. It's a tool for setting up the date, not for being her therapist or having a full on relationship over the phone. Now, guys, I've been doing this for a while and I have struggled with this because I'm a communicator. I love to talk to people, man, right? But it's a tool. It is not the full relationship. Keep it fun, right? Keep it light. Mirror the energy that she's showing over the phone, over texting, right? If she sends you 3 words, you don't send her a manifesto. Now, the ask, the best opening is a contextual opener. Forget the, hey, you're pretty. I mean, this stuff is weak. That's weak sauce, my guys. Right? The confident move is to comment on the shared environment. I don't know. If she's reading a book, you say something like, hey, is that the new Stephen King novel, right? Like, I heard the ending is brutal, right? If she's wearing some kind of cool shirt you like, right? Ooh, that's a deep cut reference. Did you catch them on tour? Look, man, it's all about the context. It's showing that you're paying attention, right? You're in the moment. You're having fun in the conversation. Once you're having fun in the conversation, that's when you strike, baby. Keep the date low stakes, be playful, right? Research shows it lowers anxiety for both parties. You're going to be having fun. You're too worried about having fun to be worried about whether she likes you or not. Coffee, boba, right? Maybe a quick browse at the comic shop, right? Be direct. I really enjoyed talking to you about blank. We should grab coffee at blank, right? This is direct, it's confidence, and there's no room for ambiguity. There's no like over analyzing the text. Boom, let's do this. All right, the art of the date. First, date success is 80% listening. Guys, let me say this again. As much as I like to talk, I like to listen more, especially when I'm with a woman. 80% listening. Now, I know this is going to be hard for some of you chatterboxes, right? Some of you anxiety riddled dudes, right? You're going to want to say something to fill that gap. Seriously, though, research from relationship coaches consistently shows that people feel connected to those who actively listen and follow up questions, right? Use this thing that we call the Ford method, right? Family, occupation, or school, right? Recreation, and dreams. All right. Don't interview her. Listen to her about her favorite hobby. Then ask a deep, specific question about it. Right. Oh yeah. What was the moment you started to love photography? This shows you listened. It shows you're interested in her response. It makes her feel seen. And finally, boundaries. Look, listen up, dudes. All you guys out there, especially you young men out there, consent is enthusiastic, specific, and ongoing. Never assume anything. I don't care if you've been with the girl for a year. You don't assume anything. Always be consistent with that respect, right? It's always enthusiastic, specific, and ongoing. It shows respect, right? That as a gentleman, right? It's the ultimate green flag. A real alpha respects boundaries, right? Insecure little nerds push boundaries. Be an alpha. All right. Let's wrap this up with a master plan, a framework based on years of relationship psychology that will help you get that girl that you want. Now, this isn't magic. This is all about execution, baby. And you know, if you've been watching Plant the Spark and you are a regular member, you're going to have the tools to follow this plan and execute properly. Come on, here we go. Phase 1, establish internal validation. This is your foundation. And the goal is to achieve an established sense of personal worth independent of external approval. Now, your action is to commit to 3 dating-related personal goals: fitness, skills, creative projects. This builds confidence through competence. Get in the gym, read a book, right? Work on your chin. All right, phase 2, strategic socializing in your sphere. Now, the goal is to meet potential partners in environments where your authentic personality can shine, right? If you're a chess lover, you don't show out at the cheer competition. Now, the action is to increase your involvement in your hobbies, clubs, conventions, community groups. This allows you to connect over shared values with people who have the same values, right? This is a major predictor of relationship success. I get that you want a specific person, but if you want a successful relationship, then you need to find someone in your niche. And then comes phase 3, where you initiate with contextual confidence, right? The goal, start conversations based on the shared environment, right? Or her interests, not on her looks, right? You don't need to tell her how beautiful she is right off the bat. So the action here, use a contextual opener, right? Commenting on her book, a line at an event, right? Something like this. And then you transition this into something engaging, lighthearted, right? Fun. And that's then when you move into phase 4, where we'll call this the low pressure date ask, right? Obviously, the goal is to transition the positive conversation you're having into a definite low investment meeting. Low investment. You want to use the foot in the door phenomenon here. Look for something small. Ask for a specific short date. Hey, let's grab a coffee or a boba, right? Let's go on a hike or whatever you do. And you want to do it within 48 hours of this initial successful conversation. You might even want to do it at the end of that conversation, right? Be direct. We should go to place X on day Y. This is hot. Phase 5, once you're on that date, master the active listening, right? You want to make her feel heard and understood. During the date, utilize the Ford method, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. And you want to focus 80% of your energy on asking thoughtful, specific follow-up questions to her answers. But guys, this is not an interview. You don't want to sit there. What's your favorite color? Why did you move here? You want to focus on the fun stuff. You want to show interest in her. You want to keep it playful, right? You want to keep the desirability up. You want to show her that you're maybe like a little mysterious, you're a little edgy, whatever. Or just be yourself. And then we get phase 6, which is where you propose exclusivity with maturity, right? Now, again, this is after you maybe have had a date, right? You've had a few dates and you've decided this is someone that I'd actually like to spend some time with here. And so the goal here is to clearly define what the relationship status is after several, successful, consistent dates, right? Have an explicit conversation using I statements stating your desire for exclusivity. I don't know, you might say something, I really like focusing my time on you and I want to be exclusive. How do you feel about that, right? It's very direct, very to the point, and it's not up for interpretation. Phase 7 is where you maintain your self integrity. It's the long game, right? And the goal is to ensure your personal growth wasn't a one off, right? It continues with the relationship. Stay in the gym, keep reading, keep making yourself better. Don't sacrifice your hobbies and your friendships and your goals for the relationship, right? Let her be a part of your life, be a part of her life, build a life together, encourage her to maintain her own life, right? I mean, that's what's fun about relationships is you build something bigger together, right? All right, that's it. The 7 steps, and not one of them involves lying, pretending to be something you're not. It's about leveling up your life and bringing your awesome self to the table. Now, you need to go out there and be ethical, be confident, and go get what you deserve. And we'll catch you next time on Plant the Spark, baby. And if I told you something in this episode that helped you out or something that you're going to use, maybe the 7-day plan, hit that like, hit that follow, hit that subscribe, leave a comment, do what you need to do. Give me some pipe points, whatever you want to do, baby. I love you guys. This has been Plant the Spark, and I'll see you next time. Later.